Quintesson, welcome to your.
Made it on time.
We got their
messages. I'm like, where is this guy?
Fellow host, you guys didn't see it back screen. The intro was playing when Hulk Smash logged in.
Perfect. That's a good stuff.
I'm here.
Everybody in the chat, and welcome everybody watching in the stream. This is another episode of our Customizer Showcase. I'm, of course, Collector Express, aka back in the forum days, I was known as 1987 O's. And with me is Hulk Smash Customs.
Give me 1 second.
He's running late. You don't have the questions pulled up yet.
I'm here. So.
But
we don't need that B game. We need your A game.
I bring the H game, buddy. I'm Hulk Smash Customs, and I'd like to welcome our guest tonight, the Quintesson Syndicate. So, you want to start with the first question?
Yeah, with one of the things we do with the showcase, start out with show some of your custom work, and I can go ahead and bring it up and take a look at that. And let me get the screen sharing. Share screen. And here we go. We got the Abansur Apocalypse in the Egyptian motif. That is a very cool custom.
Thanks. That one was a lot of fun to do, and it's actually my my old laptop with a placemat sitting over the keyboard.
Hey, it works. That's actually pretty clever. It's like for your backdrops.
Yeah, I seen it in a video where people were using backdrops or whatever, right? And and using their computer screens, but I can never get it set up just right because of the reflections and things. And I was, I'm trying to do this with just my camera phone, but it worked out really well, actually. That was probably one of the most well-received customs that I put up on my Instagram. I think something over 700 likes, and I had never seen anything past like 35 before. So,
and it looks nice.
This custom was right around the time that me and you started talking too.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was just before I molded those little tiny shoes for you.
Yeah.
Little tiny shoes. What now?
So I took I made a mold of the shoes from the Spider Punk, and I was talking to Dom, and I cast a bunch. Yeah, the little sneakers, and he said he could use a bunch, so I was just like, yeah, sure. So I made a few, and we exchanged some parts, or I think I was grabbing a Build-A-Figure piece off of them or something, and we
wasn't it one of those arms there?
Yeah, I think it might have been. It might have been one of that's on the Caliban body, the Caliban Build-A-Figure body.
Mm-hmm. That is such a great body they just don't use. I don't get why they don't use that body for other bigger characters. It's like that's what the new Thanos should have been built on, not that small new one they built.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And this has got better range of movement in the arms. You can barely get 25 degrees on the elbow bend on the new Thanos.
Yeah.
Great. This was an interesting one to build too, because I hand sculpted the scarab that's on there.
Really?
I made like a tiny little block of. I'm not sure if I used styrene or if I molded that block or I cut it out of. No, actually, I think it was epoxy sculpt for the block part, and then I molded or tried to sculpt the scarab over top of it and glued it. I cut apart the belt from Thanos. And then glued that on with a little bit of soft goods underneath.
I recognize the Thanos Build-A-Figure cuffs, collar piece, and the belt.
Well, I also like what you did
reuse in the hands from Thanos too.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
You know what's interesting too is how you made the feet. I remember that.
Oh yeah, the sandals. The sandals I cut out. I took a bag from Value Village, and that had a very thin sort of either like fake leather kind of thing. And you can get those bags for pretty cheap secondhand. And so I just cut pieces out of that, and I made the bottom part, the sole of the sandal, out of styrene and glued it to the foot, which I also cut off. I think it might have been from a Hulk figure, the Hulk
MCU Hulk.
Figure. Yeah, the MCU Hulk Build-A-Figure, and I made a mold of his feet, or just the front of his feet. and then I cut the Caliban feet off and glued them together, and then fixed the seam line in between them.
That's
And
similar. I
then
did the hands on my last prime. I molded fist and cut them
Yeah,
together.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's
getting
cool.
real creative, right? When stuff doesn't exist, you got to go to the old school ways of.
Exactly.
You know, I still got,
I'm old school. I don't do 3D printing, so that's what I kind of have to rely on. So make a casting and modify it. And
I still got pictures, of your process there for Caliban.
Oh, cool. Yeah, they're on my Instagram too. I like posting process pics because, I mean, if anybody were to ask me how I did something, I've got no secrets about it. I'd share with anyone because that's how I learned, and I learned through other people who share on YouTube and whatnot, and pass along, pay it forward.
My mantra is about pass along what we know so people can learn and get the hobby to grow.
And that's the only way too, right?
Yeah.
You know what? This isn't a competition. We're not competing with other customizers here. We just want, everybody. This is a fun thing, man. You know what I mean? Like everybody should just help each other out, and like that's what we're all about too. You know what I mean? We've always been that way.
Yeah, I agree.
If anybody has a question, I always try to make sure to answer like a technical question.
Yeah.
But that looked great. Oh, here we go. This looks familiar.
Yeah, this was recent. This was very, very recent. As in this past summer was a huge success. Actually, first ever 3D printed or 3D designed. I designed it in Tinkercad of all things. Apparently, it's very basic, but I made it work somehow, and I changed it a whole bunch of times. Actually, I still have the prototype here. I never actually ended up making any production versions for myself. I made 15 for TFCon, and they sold out in like an hour at the show.
That's awesome, dude. It looks great.
Thanks.
I'm surprised none of the third-party companies have done a MP scale Structicon yet.
Well, they've shrunk the mainline ones. They shrunk down the mainline one to a smaller version of it. And then that one there was a TFCon exclusive that I made, and I had to draw because I figured, if somebody, let's say they can't afford what I'm asking for it or whatever, it was like $2 a ticket or something, like something cheap, so that to add a little bit of fun, right? If you win this, it's almost trophy-like, and it would be an experience because some people come to TFCon just to look at stuff, right?
And can-wise, you could say it's a Structicon that's like found a golden lagoon. What do they call that stuff? Beryllium or something like that, or.
I can't remember. I do remember the episode of the Golden Lagoon, and it's actually a similar color to the figures that are in the main line that are Golden Lagoon as well.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
Bro. Abby's maggots.
Of course, they announced, the legit Sergeant Slaughter after I spent many hours trying to make him a tank top.
When I made mine back in, was it February? I knew they were planning on making Slaughter just because they made that roadblock torso with that tank top.
Oh, yeah.
It's perfect. I'm going to make one anyway because I want one now.
Yours.
Toy Store's got their shipment in, or at least part of it.
Yeah, BBTS, I saw that. I'm going to still wait for the GameStop one here because it's a tremendous amount cheaper and I don't have to pay shipping.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely looking forward to it. And this one turned out great too. It's like those bigger bodies just work out. The Valverse one looks nice, but it's small. When I think G.I. Joe Slaughter, I think like the cartoon, Zumbo cartoon. Yeah. He was larger than life, and
yeah, absolutely.
Having a Slaughter the same size as Duke is like.
Yeah, no, he should be a big burly dude. Like he was, he was made to, or he was there to be like the head of that sort of style, right? And you have to give a lot of props to my buddy Emerson, who's on there at the bottom, says Emersonium. He's the one who 3D printed the hat for me, and so he was a huge help in making this come together. And he printed like 6 or 7 versions of different sizes, this, that, and the other. And so without that, it wouldn't have been the same custom. And to my other buddy,
he's got to have his cover. He's got to have his.
Yeah, my other buddy Chris Simpson actually lent me the WWE figure so I can make a mold of Sergeant Slaughter's head and cast the head. So I didn't have to pay for a full figure. He had it already. Nice. He loaned it to me. And I made the head, and then I made I copied the glasses too, and then just glued them on because there's no way they're staying on.
Oh, that's why I was looking when I made my slaughter. I was looking for a head that's got the glasses molded on, because removable glasses are cool, but they're not practical. They're not going to stay on. As soon as you try to pose that figure, they're going to fly off or fall off. And
what do you see without the glasses, really?
Yeah,
and I mean, even like painting his hair on his head felt weird, because at one point he just looked like the Jim Carrey's character in Dumb and Dumber, and I sent a picture of that of the comparison to the guys in the group that I'm in, and we just had a good chat about it. You're gonna laugh about it.
You just mentioned Emerson and Chris. We might as well give a shout out to the rest of the guys in the.
Okay. Yeah, no, we've got a tight knit group of collectors that I guess what are we calling it, the Toy Luck Club?
The Toy Luck Club.
And it's a good group of guys that are always there to help people out. People go to the States, they grab stuff there, they have it shipped over from the States. So it's a good solid group where, a lot of the stuff that I miss out on or that I can't find, they pick up and I pick up for them, and it's that give and take, right? And it's really good.
So what's happening? Emerson, Chris, Rob, Jericho, Jonathan, and Kalon.
Yeah.
Yep. This is a good little picture show skill of the Sharkticon too.
That was the prototype.
Yeah. This is what the deformation, their version of Blaster.
Yeah, I think it's Recording Alliances, I think was the name of it.
Yeah, something like that. I actually recently ordered one that like a Show Z store had it on sale for $69. And
yeah, I bought mine at the full price, but I mean, I didn't know it's going to dry. You can't know those things, right?
And from what I've seen, all the reviews on this thing built like a tank. It's a great piece.
Yeah, I've handled it. I like it a lot.
And it's good size. For those wondering, that's like a 9-inch tall blaster, something like, roughly like 9 inches. It's like MP10 size. Like if you know that's Masterpiece figure. And there's a whole army of them.
Oh yeah, in the process of building them, and I lost my love of building them after I built 15. I had enough of parts breaking and things not gluing, and the printer, like apparently the white filament is very brittle, so it would get lodged inside the head of the printer or the nozzle, and when pulling it out and removing that filament, it just snapped off inside, so I had to disassemble the printer to get that little piece out again. And it was thankfully that's like the last thing that I printed, so it was frustrating, but yeah.
And shout out to Peg Zero Dad. He's over across the pond, so he's about time to go to bed.
Yeah, he's joining us in the UK.
Oh, so that's probably a better thing that we started so early, so it's not like
normally when we do these things at 9, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning for him. So
yeah.
There's your army at TFCon.
Yeah, I had to take a picture. It was also, I need to give a shout out there to Madhouse Toys, who let me be at his booth, and I helped to sell some product and stuff and work for him for the day. But he was a huge supporter, and he has always been a really big supporter of my work. And he gave me a little spot on his big booth, and it was super, super generous and super kind. And without him, it wouldn't have been such a success. But I was able to actually have that space and display my figures. Yeah. And it was like kind of one of those moments that they don't come along very, very often, where I'm on the other side of the table now being a quote unquote dealer at a show that I had gone to for years. Right. So.
Clocks go back for an hour for us tonight, so in the summertime, officially early yet.
That's good. That's good.
And yeah, having them they'll give you like a booth space too. Like booths at TFCon are expensive.
Oh yeah, because he's also partnered with Ages 3 and Up as well. So I have to give them a shout out as well, because they work in tandem. They work together, and they're both like great places. If you're Canadian, especially. Fantastic places to buy Transformers and all kinds of figures from. Like, they're fantastic companies, good people done in those places.
Well, it's a good reminder the clocks go back for a show tomorrow night.
Oh, that's right. That's tonight, right?
At least where I use my phone, it does it automatically, so I can look at it. And just have to change all the appliances.
I didn't realize it was even this weekend.
Do what now?
I didn't realize it was this weekend. We're changing.
I didn't either. I knew it was close.
I always forget. I just realize when I wake up in the morning Sunday and go, huh, my clock says a different time than my phone.
This is a nice upgrade.
Oh, yeah, that little guy.
That's one of the things I didn't like about the retro carded lizard, the gecko hands and feet. That looks cool.
Yeah, I had a really hard time matching the paint. Yeah, it looks like it matches in those pictures, but that was actually a bit too dark and not quite the right color.
Green is surprisingly hard. Plus, it will dry a different color. You can mix it. Yeah, you can mix it look like it's perfect when it goes on wet. As soon as it dries, it'll go darker.
Well, and that's the nature of acrylic paint too, is that it dries darker, right?
That's when I painted up the 80th anniversary cap head. I used the Toy Biz Series 1 head for my 80th anniversary cap. You got to go lighter when you mix your paints. It's just getting that right balance.
Oh yeah, I struggle.
How much lighter do you want to go? Then, or if just a little bit, it's going to be noticeable, especially on a camera or lights.
Oh yeah, lighting is huge when you're painting. You need proper lighting on it, and even to like zoom in on it with, say, like a magnifying glass would be really, really key, right? Especially when painting. Like I painted all the little nails and stuff too on them as well. So the toenails, the fingernails, I painted them with a bone color as well. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. My wife keeps telling me I need to grab one of those, and so I've yet to get one myself.
It's got a flip up, even magnify even more. So, I need to take that downstairs for my paint station. I used to do a lot of painting up here, but I have pets, so hair gets and stuff. So I do all my painting downstairs now.
We have a husky, so he's got 2 coats, and both of those coats shed all the time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This. And, what we got here?
That was the custom Omega, like an older version of Omega. I had seen, I can't remember who the customizer was, Johnny Osage, I think.
Omega.
And he had used,
Omega, the little girl.
Yeah, but So what I did was I used a Crosshairs body, and I
wash hands. Yeah.
Yeah, so I used a Crosshairs body, and I just cut his belt off and stuff, and I had made a mold of the clone helmet. So I was trying to figure out a way that I can make an older version of it. So it's a removable full head, and then I used a different head sculpt. I think I sent you the other picture using the Black Widow, the blonde Black Widow head sculpt.
Okay, let me pull up here. Trying to find it here. Thumbnails. I cannot see it right off, but we'll find it. Next picture is. There we go.
The very first custom that I guess it's the second custom, but the first full custom and tear down and rebuild of an entire figure. And that was from TFCon about, I think, four years ago. Was the Autobot X, and then I had a buddy of mine. His name's Mike Streeter. He does photography as well. He gave me a hand with making the box, so making it a legit looking box.
Oh, you made the box too.
What's that?
You made the box too. That's sweet.
Yeah, so we had a flat version. I had it printed twice, and I had the flat version laid out behind it. And we measured an actual masterpiece box. And then he drew it all up and laid it all out. And then the writing on the back, there's writing on the back, but it's not real writing. It's just kind of lines and dots and whatever to look like writing.
Oh,
and then
like down here
yeah, over there. So yeah, so it looks like writing, but it's not writing because we didn't want to fill that in.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and then I named it MP217 because it was season 2, overall episode 17. So I named him. I think it says there, Sparkplug's Patchwork Robot. And so that's why I gave him his own little name. That wasn't something that existed before that I had heard anywhere. So I just kind of made that up just to have some kind of name associated with it on the box, which I thought would be fun.
Yeah.
But that was originally a Fans Toys Quake Wave, which ironically I think I paid $90 Canadian for at the time because the guy just couldn't sell it. And now they're $200-300 easily.
Wow.
But mine's an Autobot X instead.
I ended up not the only Quake Wave I have. I got the gray exclusive one, the Shack Wave.
Oh, nice.
Shack Wave.
Yeah, that's a good one.
No, I got a cat coming in here.
You got a visitor.
Go on.
I'm surprised my dog's not down here giving me a hard time. No, he's upstairs sleeping in bed. So.
Oh, what we got here?
So this is for my best friend's 40th birthday, and I made up this custom, and my wife helped me with the background, and we measured it all out. And that's the clear casing on there is from a Beast figure that I reused, and then we printed off two copies of the background, so I could overlay one over top of the plastic bubble and then one behind, so that the picture would carry through behind the actual figure itself. And so that was a body that I had planned to use for a custom of myself, but it was way too big in comparison to all of the other figures that I have. It's the Hydro Man.
That body
Hydro Man.
is the Netflix Luke Cage body they reuse, and that thing is huge.
Well, there's the shoes right there.
Yeah, it's
those are the shoes that I cast for Tom. And then it was just a funny thing. I used the head from the Red Guardian, and then I resculpted the hair because it wasn't curved the right way. So I resculpted that. And
the MCU Red Guardian.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so I had that, and so I just made a little mold of it so that figure was still intact, and then cast it and sanded down the hair so it was actually going the opposite way because his hair goes the opposite way. And it's not like a perfect likeness in any way, shape, or form. I was just trying to find something that was bearded and close enough to him.
Hey, you know what?
Him,
It works. It works.
Yeah. His reaction, he reached down into the bag, and I remember him saying, like, not an action figure, and he's like kind of freaking out, like, oh, he bought me an action figure because he doesn't collect that stuff. He's not into it. But he appreciates the actual workmanship that goes into it. And so when he realized, like, he took like a triple take at it, and it was the funniest thing in the entire world. And it was the first gift he opened too. So then right after that, everybody else was like, well, how am I going to top that? Like, with this bottle of booze doesn't compare to a custom one-off action figure.
You set the bar, buddy.
Apparently too high. And that was the actual figure itself. So the arms, I think, were a combination of Namor, bicep, and elbow, like the hinges, the elbow joint, the forearms and the shoulders are from rock python. And then I sculpted the sleeve around the biceps on both sides, and then they can pull out as well.
I was wondering what you used for the sleeved arms.
Yeah, it's epoxy sculpted around the bicep. And then the shoulders are just the purple, just painted over with black. And I used the hinges so I cut out the hinges from the Hydro Man shoulders, and then put them into the shoulders of the rock python.
Cool. And we got a few more of your Apocalypse pictures. We got side-by-side comparison.
Yep, same head.
Same head, same the arm sculpt from the bicep to the shoulders are the same. But, I guess the forearms are the same too. Just got the covers.
Yeah, they slip on. I think
it took me a while to realize when I seen the arms. Oh, they share the same body. Then when I got really looking at them, oh no, the bodies are completely different.
Yeah,
even the bicep
a little bit wider. Yep. I think it's in the picture too. The biceps are the same though. I remember that part.
Yeah, the chest is thicker and wider on the Caliban.
Yeah. And then you can see the sandals a little bit better there too.
Yeah, it's a little lighter pictures. Those are cool. And we got a standalone. That turned out really nice.
Thanks. Yeah, like I said, I was so amazed that so many people were so into it. That was the biggest, the highest number of likes, I guess, on anything that I posted on there. So
I like this. You fixed it, fixed the issue, which this is just seems so dumb for Hasbro to do. You swap the expressions. This makes so much more sense. Why would he be like blah when he's got a hole in his head and not pissed off?
yeah, like it's nothing. Like it's a casual stroll on a Sunday afternoon with a hole in his head. And then you can see at the bottom there, to make the mold of it, I had to put in some just like clay in it so that I could actually make the mold and it wouldn't get stuck. And then what I do afterwards is go in with a Dremel and just carve it out, and then it's ready to go.
Yeah, when I made my molds for my gauntlets, I made a styrene plug for the bottom of the gauntlet to fill it up.
Oh, nice.
And we got a finished version of that. Well, not
almost.
Almost.
Just no eyes, because I never got around to making the eyes.
Oh, so you gotta paint. You gotta paint the eyes.
I don't know. I just probably something
could make them
going
look
on
like sand.
You know how it is, right?
Yeah, you can always make them look like sand, though.
True.
That works for your character.
I like this. Star Wars figure and the Stanley figurehead.
Yep. Yeah, and then a little tiny ornament that is a fillable ornament that I cut down and then glued to this piece of tubing from the Home Depot that I also cut down to fit over the shoulder. So you can remove the actual the helmet while the head is on the body as well, and the body can easily be returned to the Luke head on it and swapped back at any point in time. So I just wanted something that was fun and quick and easy to do. He's pretty small. Like the Luke body, I didn't realize just how small it was. I just saw it as this spacesuit, and I thought, well, Hot Toys cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars, or I can have this tiny little figure done for
Well, it works out good. Stan Lee wasn't a huge guy, so
yeah.
Well, I see this one, and turned out beautiful, but the same way like what happened with your Sarge.
Serpentor. And then, of course, they announce it. So, as it always goes, right?
When you were wrapping it up, I remember like, oh, we got Serpentor coming.
I've got a lot of really good feedback in the G.I. Joe groups and stuff from this, of people saying this looks more like Serpentor than the new one. I mean, the classified version is amazing, and the sculpt work that they've done in it and everything. And, this is a soft goods with a wire in it in the cape. I just haven't made the open hands and screaming or grimacing face for him yet. But that's in the works. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
I think I got a picture of that, don't I? No, it's on you. I just saw it on your Instagram earlier. It's like the work in progress of the Screaming Head.
Yeah, and then in this picture, I didn't realize I hadn't filled in the black eye for his head sculpt of the.
Here.
Yeah, and then I guess I also have to fill in red eyes for the snakes on his shoulders and on his hand as well. But that'll get to that.
Those hands, the snakes on the hands turned out really good.
Yeah, hand sculpted that with a Foxy sculpt and some silicone brushes. So
I recognize some good reuse too. Like that nice belt sculpt from. This is the Hydra Cat.
Same body as the Civil Warrior. So I used the Civil Warrior because it was cheap to find, and I needed.
That one's a lot cheaper to find than.
Yeah, and I needed the head sculpt anyways for the Build-A-Figure, the Mr. Hyde Build-A-Figure. So I needed to buy it anyways, and it was on sale on clearance from Walmart. So I bought it up, and then the gauntlet on the right-hand side is from Gung Ho.
Okay, that's good reuse.
Yeah, and the forearms are Paladin forearms, as well as the feet, I believe, are Paladin feet as well.
That's such a good fodder figure for stuff. You get gun holsters and you got armored pieces. And
I don't think nobody actually wants him.
Yeah. The I do have to give a shout out to who was it now? It was a free file online that I found of the Serpentor, of a Serpentor bust. It was on It was online that I had found it, and again, Emerson cut some of it down because in Tinkercad you can only have a certain sized file to work with, and I somehow he cut it down to a workable size, and I was able to work the head sculpt in Tinkercad to actually fit properly over top of the body for this as well. So
now this is very impressive.
Yeah.
oh. That was supposed to be that was my third custom, actually, custom transformer, and it was supposed to be for TFCon in the summer just after COVID hit, and they ended up canceling TFCon. They're going to enter into the contest, and this is built off of a base of a knockoff Masterpiece Ratchet body.
Okay.
And I mean, I took that thing completely apart. And if I had 3D printing at the time, this would have been a lot easier. That was all styrene work. And
that is just impressive styrene work, scratch build stuff.
It was very difficult. And I'm afraid of touching it because I'm afraid of scratching any kind of paint and all that stuff. So, and of course, right afterwards, they released the X Transbots version and the Fans Toys version, which I also bought both, even though
Jensen
I had this one. And I did a comparison of all three, and I have that up on my Instagram as well, where it shows three. And I was pretty close to being the right scale, like the same scale as those figures. So yeah,
it looks good like that. I recognize Ratchet or Grapple Head face.
It's the Inferno. It's from a KO Inferno.
That's what I meant. The Inferno or Grapple.
Yeah, and it's the same face that I used actually when I did a Masterpiece Sharkticon that actually transforms that I made by hand with styrene and epoxy sculpt. And it was the same.
Tesla 1.0, I made an adapter where I could use one of those faces.
Yeah, that was a popular thing going on at the time because that face was just atrocious.
Yeah, Fans Toys early days, they could not do faces.
Yeah, we've come a long way since, right?
Now they're like best things out there.
Oh yeah, they're awesome. Yeah, the paint on them are always really, really good.
And they do not think about skipping on diecast. They weigh a ton. Of course, that's kind of running for everybody else too. When everybody gets a new third-party figure, it's not Fans Toys. Like, oh, this is a light piece of junk. This thing don't feel like a. It's like,
yeah,
they
held the bar, but I think a lot of companies are catching up now in terms of sculpt, in terms of tune accuracy and stuff. And this one too, the
Transbots has made leaps and bounds recently. They're like pumping stuff out. I'm looking forward to their battle chargers. I've been wanting the battle chargers forever, and
and
if they don't do a retool of Run Amok into Knight Rider, they're stupid.
I think they showed something about that. I thought maybe,
or maybe I'm just the front bumper and do the repaint, and they got Knight Rider.
Yeah, for sure. This custom actually has a magnetized chest piece as well, so that full chest piece snaps to it, and there are magnets inside of the body, and it just snaps on. Because I had planned for it to transform, and it would have been a bit of parts forming. But I had it all laid out and worked out. And then once TFCon was canceled and they released these other figures, I just never finished the pieces for the alt mode. It has an alt mode. I have the pieces. I just lost that will to finish them because I thought, well, it's going to stand in robot mode on my shelf. So it
does the job right now. It works great. You can put that in a display, put him next to one of the blasters, and have them defending Autobot City.
Yeah, and his shoulder cannon is also magnetized, it's magnetized as well. So it just kind of magnetizes to it. It's made out of mostly pieces of pen.
Okay, we got your newest 3D model.
So funny thing about this, I had a good buddy of mine, Francis Comfort. He's a massive, massive collector, fantastic toy photographer as well. We have a weekly contest every week, and his pictures are always stunning, as well as everybody else who enters it in the group that I run. And he had kept posting about the Mattel crowdfunding, right, for their playset, their Eternia playset. And he said, I don't really, he made a post saying, I don't want this playset. I just want this moat monster. And I said, well, you could easily make a custom, I'm sure. And he's like, well, you could? And then at that point, I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. So this thing is made up of, I think, 6 or 7 different free STL files off of Thingiverse. It's got a T-Rex in it. It's got a Triceratops. It's got the monster from Ghostbusters. It's got a rat STL that I made 2 of, flipped it upside down, and used its back as a belly. It's got this other weird monster for the head that looks like some kind of like Dungeons and Dragons thing or something. And then I just cut it off at the head and then tilted it and altered it and whatnot. And then the eyes are from a chameleon set of files where I just took the eye files and then figured out where to place them and whatnot, and then copied the spikes down the back. It was fun.
I loved Masters of the Universe, but I have no idea what this thing is.
I think
Neither
cool
did I.
looking.
Neither did I. It's a moat monster. That's all
That's
I
what
know.
it is. Oh, and I found the.
It was fun to paint. It was a lot of fun to paint. There's the Omega. Yeah.
So it's an adult Omega.
Yeah, like an adult
or as the
version
voice
of the
actor
first
cannot
one.
say it, it's Omega.
Omega. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that always surprised me. It's like I'm not trying to disparage like her accent or anything, but you think when you cast a character, you make sure they can say the character's own name.
Well, they're trying to make it as if she was, because she is a clone, right? So she's trying to have the same accent of the other clones, right?
Yeah.
So that's sort of what they were playing off of, or trying to play off of. But again, this wasn't my original idea. I got the idea from someone and then bought the Black Widow figure for fairly cheap, and hollowed out the head so it would fit on the peg properly and sit down, and then I could just pull it off and put the helmeted head on, no problem. So
it's a cool idea.
Fully painted lizard with the color matched legs and fans.
So much better than those other ones, the hands and feet on them.
Oh, well, the other one just kept trying to sell you car insurance.
Yeah, I know. Little gecko.
Yeah, now I won't be able to save on it anymore.
What'd you do to yourself, man?
I recognize that.
Yeah, this was one of the first head sculpts I ever sold. So what I did was I took the smirking Mark Ruffalo head sculpt, and I think maybe the 40th Hulk, MCU Hulk, that had a screaming face. And I cut one off.
Two-pack Hulk, the Age of Ultron, Hulkbuster versus Hulk.
Yeah, I think it was that one. And it was just, I cut him off from underneath the nose. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's the head sculpt. I cut them off from underneath the nose and then put them back together, fixed the seam line, and I called it the Wild Ruffalo.
Yeah, I remember that. Holy mac.
And I ended up making a whole bunch of copies of it and painting them all and matching the green on this went way better than trying to match the green on the chameleon. But I matched it pretty well, fully painted. And I think I was selling them because at the time I'm just new, and I'm still not, I'm not a big name in customizing or anything like that. But at the time, I sold them for $25 Canadian a piece, fully painted and clear coated and everything, which I thought was a really good deal.
That is a good deal. Fully painted heads for that cheap, that's a good deal.
Yeah. I still had people try to haggle me down on it, like, because I brought them to a show, and one guy was like, "I'll give you 15." I'm like, "No, I'd rather keep it." Like. It's already super cheap. Like, it's, custom head sculpts fully painted.
There's a thing when you take stuff to a show, people will haggle, even though it's like, you're asking less than what I paid for it. No.
How are you going to haggle that price, though? Like, I mean,
people don't know. People don't know, and they see Build-A-Figure head sculpts as $5. Maybe they don't understand the artistry that goes into it, the process. That's on one side of things,
sharing the entire process of customizing. There's tons of work that go into making customs.
Oh yeah, but you don't know that, right? And people on the outside, I have to keep in mind that I have to think about that sometimes, and keep in mind that I may know about these things, but they may not know. So it may not be something that they're trying to be offensive in some way. They don't know what the process is, right? So
yep. Let's see what we got in here. We'll get to the Q&A here in a second. Sure. Get all the pictures of everything you sent me.
It's that was the custom Sharkticon, my second foray into full-on custom masterpiece transformer, except this one I tried to up it a bit, and that one is fully transforming. And then I did a little comparison to the mainline one.
There he is.
That was a lot of work and a lot of fun, a lot of dust everywhere in the condo. That was just stuck to all the shelves. I had to put up garbage bags on my shelves right beside the desk because the dust, for some reason, would just stick to everything of the epoxy sculpt.
Yep.
And that was a lengthy process of doing that by hand. And then I had somebody offer to buy it from me at the show at TFCon. And I couldn't, because I wasn't happy enough with the finish on it to sell it to someone.
Yeah.
Like, it just wasn't quite, like, I'm picky, and it was like, okay for me to have, because I could fix any kind of part, right? So.
Oh, Southtown Paint Apps. What's up, guys? Glad to check y'all out. Tonight we're doing a series where we call like a customizer showcase. Tonight we're talking to the Quintesson Syndicate, and this is one of its customs.
So that won TFCon, the custom contest. So that was my second year in a row that I won TFCon first place at TFCon for the custom contest. Nice. And then the Perceptor was supposed to be the third. And then after that, I was ready to just, call it a day with a trifecta, hoping to win a third time. And then I was thinking maybe of even trying to reach out to the organizers of TFCon to try to run the custom show, which they didn't have this year, which was kind of sad, but maybe it might be something in the future. It's hard to get somebody to man that booth all day so that people don't steal.
They had the customizing class in Chicago this year.
Yep, they do the customizing class, which is great. I think it's fantastic for people getting into it. This was a separate thing where you drop the custom on.
The contest. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Because in order to do the class, like the figure that they start off with, the base figure has to be something decent, like something actually.
Figure out where to go. I figure we go ahead and get into the Q&A.
Sure.
Let me get out of the image here. Okay. How long have you been into customizing?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
They get harder.
TFCon. Oh no, that's okay. It's okay. I'm perfectly fine with it. It hasn't been that long. I'm very new to it, and I'm still have so much to learn. So it's probably got to be maybe five or 6 years.
Wow, you've been you're a newbie.
Oh yeah. Some of you guys have been around forever, and that's why whenever anybody asks me what I'm doing, I always share with them, because I've been fortunate enough that I've had other customizers that I've reached out to and have been so incredibly kind. I think I was telling you earlier about RDJ Customs out in the UK. And I reached out to him about a concept, an idea, and he helped me out with some head sculpts for something that I'm not going to talk about just yet what it is, but I haven't gotten to it yet. But he helped me out with that, and I don't even think he charged me for, maybe even at the most it was shipping from the UK of these head sculpts that he 3D resin printed for me. So, yeah, I've been very fortunate to have people help me, so I just try to return the same sort of, just pay it forward, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And next one.
Next one is
yes, sir.
Well, yeah. What or whom inspire you to start customizing?
So the way that I got into it, or the way that I started with it, was I found a masterpiece Thundercracker, and it was missing a whole bunch of parts. So what I did was I found the same style of airplane model, and I tried to recreate the jet mode parts using that airplane model, and tried to build them. And it was a big, like a steep learning curve from that. And so that's sort of how I got into it, was out of necessity for parts that didn't exist, that I couldn't replace, I couldn't find, because nobody just has these little parts lying around.
Mm-hmm. So, that's a very ambitious first project.
Hey, I've always been into art, and I've always drawn and made stuff and built things and various stuff. So putting it into my love of Transformers, it was nice to combine my visual arts background with something that I really enjoy as well, like the nerdy side of things, right? So
same here. I have artistic background and stuff. It's one of the things I do for a living as a graphic designer and web developer,
nice.
And it's another art medium.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have bad arthritis in my hands, so I don't really draw too much physical media anymore. I do all digital artwork for work, but make my customs easier than trying to draw anymore because my hands will cramp up and draw up.
Oh, I bet.
Let's see.
Next question. Okay. What other customizers do you look forward to seeing their work presently?
If I were to list off the customizers that I look at, the list would be too incredibly long. It could be anybody from the simplest thing of they have a cool idea like on Instagram or whatnot that I'll follow anyone that I find like even a slight bit of interest from. That's a hard one. I think there are just too many. It's kind of like saying what's your favorite movie, and it's like, oh,
I understand. I follow I looked at. I'm currently following 614 people on Instagram. So
yeah. So I mean, if you wanted to see sort of who I follow, I generally tend to follow people that are open, that you can talk to easily if you have an idea, right, or if you want some knowledge, or they're easy to share, right? So
if you run into those customizers too, you'll ask them a question. They will never reply to you. They don't reply.
Yeah, but see, this is it though. What you just said there about guys who are like that will reply and help out. I'm glad to say that compared to when me and Collector Express first started, that list has gotten a lot longer of people who will actually help you. Like back when we started, everybody hoarded their secrets. It was like, I want to be the only person who knows how to do this. I don't want anybody to know what recipe I use. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh my god, dude!
Yeah,
like, seriously,
it's an exclusive club, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's how I ended up here is because of the two of you. Like, so Hulk Smash Customs, like we met up through the group, and then we started, I bought some stuff off you. We exchanged some Build-A-Figure parts and stuff, and then I got in touch with Collector Express through you and started talking. I've been on your Sunday night like work in progress Whip It Sundays a few times, which is hilarious, and it's always a good time to sit there. And it's so welcoming to have people like you guys. So I mean, really, you're a big part of it, the two of you as well, as to why I am where I am and doing what it is that I do right now. Right. So
thank you so much for that.
Yes, sir. And every Sunday.
Now whip it good.
Shameless plug.
It always gets me every single time. I love it. Again, every time I laugh as the startup
Can I do something though? Even though it's not Sunday. Can I just say family?
Family.
I was already hovering over it.
You know what?
I was waiting for it. The ongoing Sunday joke is now filtered into Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you enjoy most about customizing?
I think it's the ability to create something new or something that may have previously not existed, or altering a figure to suit my vision of what I think it should look like. And it's just being able to create something like that and share it with others, like the custom I made for my friend's 40th birthday. That was just incredible to be able to see how that affects somebody else, like something that I've made has an effect on somebody else, like a profound effect on them, and just being able to share my artwork, right? Like to me,
it's an ingrained memory now with your friend. It's like that's such a cool thing to share with.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So really, it's just being it's fun to make things and just have things and look at it and go, wow, I did that. Like the Serpentor custom, I have a vision. Sometimes they turn out, sometimes they don't. But seeing it actually come to life and being something that may not exist elsewhere is fun.
The next question is actually a multi-part question.
Sure.
What kind of tools, materials do you customize with? And what types of paintbrushes? What's your favorite kind of paints? And what kind of sculpting materials do you use the most?
Okay, so I may forget one of those parts along the way because my brain thinks about one thing at a time. But so in terms of material, I started out using styrene. And I started out using the 2-part epoxy filler, like for pipe filling and stuff. And then that stuff was super expensive and whatnot. So my go-to now is Abe's Epoxy Sculpt that I can just, mix even parts together. You can work with water with it and stuff. It's really easy to use. And then in terms of filling some of that stuff, I use an automotive spot filler to fill all the little gaps and little things. So when you get down to little scratches and stuff, it's easy to just layer that. It dries within a few minutes. You can sand it really quickly, and then you have to spray it again to see any other imperfections and whatnot. I recently got into 3D printing, which has been just crazy. Like those shark that I made were made possible because of the 3D printing stuff. In terms of paints, I use pretty much like Vallejo. I was using some Tamiya. Tamiya I found stuck a little bit better, but the Vallejo was pretty easy to use. Sometimes I use an airbrush.
Tamiya, you really got to have a thinner. So.
Yeah, and I have, and that's what I used for that first custom was mostly Tamiya paints for the Autobot X.
Cool.
Yeah, and so in terms of brushes, I just buy like some decent brushes, small brushes just off of Amazon. I work with silicone brushes for the sculpting and the sculpt work and water. But those you can buy off Amazon. I think the airbrush that I have is just like an Iwata Neo Air. It's actually, you can see it in the background. That's the compressor right there is this tiny little thing. And it works great. Like, yeah, I don't need, I can take it apart and clean it if I want to. It's super small and compact. I tried a full compressor, but the place I bought it from, it was already broken when they sold it to me. And I could not change the PSI on it. So I had water coming out and it was just ruining everything. So I went to this tiny little compressor.
I got an older airbrush off a buddy of mine, and I bought a pressure regulator for it. I still need to install it. It's sitting under here because I don't use it that much because I got a place to work on my customs easily, but I don't have a place to airbrush easily. So it's one of those things. It's like when Hulk Smash was talking about when he customizes, you got to pull everything out, put it up, and when it's done, the same way when I airbrush, I got to pull it out, then like make a space to airbrush. I don't have like a vent box, like a ventilation box.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can tell in the background here, my basement isn't, it's still a work in progress. It's coming along, but eventually there will be a space and hopefully ventilation somewhere so we can vent out for stuff like airbrushing and whatnot.
Oh, that's cool.
Right now, like it's fine in the basement. I mean, this little thing isn't shooting out a lot of pressure, right? It's got 3 settings of low, medium, and high. And it works just fine. And so I find airbrushing just acrylic paint in here isn't that bad. Like it's not so bad.
Acrylics aren't that bad. So I can airbrush those. But when you get into like a little more hardcore paints, enamels or like lacquers or automotive top coats and stuff like that, you got
like that kind of stuff, like the clear coats and stuff. I use in a rattle can, and I go outside and I spray it outside, and then it comes and it only has a small bit of odor when it sits in the basement to dry. But outside, those aerosols always outside, as far away from me as possible, because that stuff. I have a friend who works in automotive, auto body, and that stuff will kill you over time, right? If you're not careful with it.
Oh, we've got a question right quick.
Sure.
Do you see the possibility of 3D printing being only used for customizing? I use a combo of both fodder and 3D parts. And I feel like some points of fodders can be just as easily printed. There's a lot of people that's building full-on figures out of 3D printing.
Oh yeah.
Well, your SharkCon.
Yeah, that thing was a labor of love. Because I had built that one by hand, but to replicate it, I mean, the countless amount of hours that would be spent to replicate that hand-built stuff, even to make molds of all the parts and cast them, would take an incredible amount of time. Whereas, the SharkCon, all the parts can be printed in something like 54 hours of print time. And then assembly and gluing and all that. But I made it in a way that the colors could be printed. It could be printed in color. So you could sand all the lines away and you could, you could really go to town on it if you want to, but I made it so that the average collector who doesn't have any experience customizing could make the figure or just enjoy the figure the way it was. So, but to answer your question, I think that we're already seeing a lot of those custom 3D printed files, like with the kits that are out there for various things like Star Wars Black Series. I've seen a lot of kits where they build full on figures of them and whatnot too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's there. It's there. And there are flex resins that are used now, so it's almost as good as plastic. It's pliable and bendable. So it's getting there. You'll see it. And I think a lot of the prototype things that companies make, like rapid prototyping, is done with 3D printing now. So I think that's sort of the way of the future of this. And then they make the molds because it's cheaper cost-wise instead of using all of the various resins, which can be very expensive over time. Right?
Exactly.
Like this right here, for example, here, he's making resin prototypes, but they're going to be going to a toy factory in Colombia. They're making Joe scale his original designs, plus he makes all kinds of armor pits, helmets, body armor.
Yeah, that's super rad.
And amazing stuff what he's putting out here too.
Oh yeah. So I mean, like it's a combination right now, and depending on what you have access to, right? Not everybody has access to the space, and like you said, even with the airbrushing, right? Don't have a dedicated space for it. Whereas some people, they're currently making a living off printing kits and parts and designing it with 3D design software.
Yeah.
I'm not at that point yet of designing stuff. I'm at a very low point with Tinkercad, learning the software, learning how to make these designs. But hopefully at one point in time, I'll be able to design it and either have a resin printer and a combination of FDM and resin. Who knows? But I think you're on the right path when you're thinking of customizing. Like these things are going to be almost made to order in the future.
I'm a bit of a dinosaur, so I don't do the 3D printing right now. So, but
as long as there aren't any meteor, like giant meteors hitting the Earth, you can keep customizing. What was that?
Speaking of, we're talking Galactus head. We got to talk a little more about that.
Yep,
yeah, that's something I don't like. You need to talk to Emerson about that one.
Yeah, Emerson, if he's listening, same idea he did with those Sentinel heads. I want something like that.
Yeah, I still need to build a body for my Sentinel head though.
Oh no, I'm using mine in the display. So
I'm going to put mine on a body that I'm going to 3D print with the FDM printer and make an actual like old school looking Sentinel is the plan. So use that head that he gave me. And then build like the actual cartoon aesthetic rather than that newer looking aesthetic with the Sentinel, but about the same size. Yeah, it's just one of the projects.
I still find it funny. I've watched some of like the first episode of the animated series when you have like the Sentinels like trying to be stealthy and hiding behind a building. Like
I know,
like a small child, right? Hiding behind their hands, like you can't see me because I can't see you.
You can't hear that thing walk.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. You know what?
Like car alarms will be going off, earthquakes.
Oh yeah.
I got to do something different. We haven't done this yet, but you're in the hot seat right now, and I know things that are going on in the background. So why don't you talk about this Rancor that we've been waiting to see, buddy? Like, what's going on with that?
Okay, do you want me to just walk over and pick it up and bring it to the camera?
Buddy, you know what?
Okay,
yes, because he took a break from the Rancor in order to do the Sharkticons, which is understandable. But, hey, it's time to get back on
it. All right, this thing's in hindsight, maybe I should have just printed the parts and modified them, but they were too big to fit in Tinkercad. So the head is just kind of temporarily on this thing, but I've tried to scale it as a proper scaled Rancor. Oh, the left and right are messing me up here.
Wow.
But yeah, it's all like 3D printed, and eventually it will have a ball peg, but it's just kind of sitting on some stuff right now just to sit it in there and like a movable jaw. I bought the 3D printed files or the 3D files, and I printed its hands, but it'll fully articulate. It has ratcheted. No, is it yeah, ratcheted out, I think. oh, it's gonna fall apart. But the shoulders are ratcheted from like King Kong.
That's bigger than like I think what they were going to make too, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've got pictures I think on my Instagram of it, but like it's pretty massive. And then inside the body itself, I don't know if I can take this apart on camera. Let's see. Maybe hold it like a small child. Like you're trying to burst it. There it goes. There it goes. But the inside is a combination of like piping parts, and there's a shower head in its butt. That sounded really weird.
Hey,
this is what customizing is all about, eh?
So this is before, me getting into 3D printing, where I could have thought about different aspects of 3D printing. But here, I'll take apart his lower section. But it's an actual shower head in the side. So there's a ball joint in there that I've, epoxied to the top and bottom. And I wanted it to be accessible. So I kept the original screw holes in here so I could screw everything together. But I was trying to think of what would be a good waist joint that could hold up the massive amount of weight. And so I put in some lubricant into the actual ball peg of the shower head. And so that was just a massive sturdy ball peg that I could use for it, because once the actual epoxy sculpt is on it, this thing weighs a tremendous amount. So like the head itself is a huge piece because it's off of a King Kong body, a huge King Kong body, and there were electronic units that I took out. And then eventually it will, yeah, I guess I got to get back to this thing. But then, there's epoxy sculpt and piping from just Home Depot that I added. I tried to measure it so that the proportions are right. I've got tons of drawings of the actual Rancor. And I did comparisons to it just to see size. And I had comparisons of the actual Rancor next to a Black Series figure. So I tried to at least get the scaling right based on those images. So, but yeah, this thing is it's been on the sidelines for a long time.
Buddy, you know what though? It's honestly, it's incredible what you're doing there. Like, I mean,
it's a full-on work in progress, and I wanted to have articulated fingers too. So these were just, I printed them off in whatever, PLA that I had. And so just so that I could get an idea of sizing. And like I have two sized feet here because this foot first printed was way too tiny, and then I printed another one that's big, but this is the original with like a little hook loop in it. But eventually, and like the feet aren't flat at the bottom, but I want to make them flat so it stands properly. But it'll be massive. It's going to be huge, and then I'll probably do a lot of the sculpt work myself. Yeah, for the arms, instead of 3D printing that, I'll probably eliminate like the back piece of the Kong elbow and sculpt it so it looks like a proper Rancor. But this is like a massive undertaking. And it was just something where I was like, you know what? This is really cool. Like I cut his arms apart and extended them because the Rancor's got to have, long arms. And in comparison to like a Marvel Legends, like this is the Peter Parker body with my own head sculpt on it that I made. Like it's like I would be afraid of this Rancor, like looking up at it, like
so you got like a harness, like a saddle for him, so you can ride them like a Boba Fett.
Hey, like you don't got to give away all of my ideas, all right?
Yeah. But you know what?
All right, we're gonna put him back.
That was almost like that meme of Thanos. It's like when Hasbro announced that failure of a Rancor, I was like, I'll do it myself. You know what I mean?
Well, a lot of people are building chargers themselves too. So,
So the other thing too, before like I found this stuff called Lockline, and it's like this hose that you can get, but it's ball joints, and it comes in different sizes. So I was trying to figure out how to use these for the legs as proper ball joints and ball sockets. So because I wanted the stability and the rigidity of actual plastic. Same sort of thing with the body is why I used the shower head, was for the strength in that joint, because if it's going to hold up a massive amount of epoxy sculpt.
Part of being a customizer is like you got to MacGyver stuff to work. Oh
yeah. But I mean, this stuff isn't cheap. It's not cheap, but I I mean, I was going to use it. I bought little screws to screw it into these other pieces and the other pieces of pipes to make stuff. But yeah, it's
Well,
that one's a massive work in progress.
well, I guess it's fair to say that they're not going to be mass produced. So
Well, actually, I was planning on trying to figure out a way to make it so that I could cast the parts and then recreate it. So make molds of it. I might redesign some of the parts, or what I'll do is I'll make molds of the pieces I have, and then modify them for mold making so that they would actually be able to. I'd actually be able to manipulate those pieces from those first molds to then create a secondary mold so that I can actually assemble all the parts together. So that's a very far down the line kind of thing, but like a long-term project. Uh, but yeah, eventually I'll get to it. That is a work in progress.
well, sorry, you know what? Sorry to say,
Yeah,
but you
there
know
it
what?
is.
You weren't going to get away with not showing this one.
Yeah, there's if you go to another post there's I think there's probably a post of a size comparison maybe.
There's your showing up how your mechanism of your waist.
So those are the actual two pieces from his body because it had a twist action to the Kong figure. But I disassembled it and dremeled out the parts and then fit the other stuff in there. There's a Black Chrysanthemum custom that I never finished either. Oh, there's a comparison of 3 Perceptors down there, though.
There
In
you
the
go.
middle. Yeah, that one's fun. So my custom is in the middle, and the X Transbots is on the left, and Fans Toys is on the right. Yeah, pretty close to it.
Right there.
His legs are a little skinny, his thighs. His
Well,
skip leg day.
that's with the using the ratchet. Ratchet and Ironhide are skinny leg.
Yeah.
That's my biggest gripe with the official Ironhide and Ratchet. They're like real slender. I see them as being, especially Ironhide, being kind of brutish. But
yeah, I think it's probably just in the design work of how they had to get the legs to fit in transformation, which having worked with transformation by hand, it's a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah. Trying to find the scale picture.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in there or not. I think I just went into Sharkticon after. Yeah, it's probably not in there. I'm sure I have it somewhere, but.
All right.
Oh, man.
Well, there's the Kong.
Yeah, so that's a scale comparison to the King Kong figure. So just get an idea of how big it was, and then all the parts that are in there. And I was, how do I make this into that? And it's far more complicated than I thought at first, because the King Kong forearms are massive. Like they are huge, huge, huge in comparison, and they're longer. Like the upper arm is longer, so that's why I had to elongate the arms and whatnot. So there's the custom Omega head sculpt there too. I think it's a video there on the left. It just spins around. It's just an Omega symbol on a regular clone helmet. Just some red details, just having a little bit of fun with it, just painting it up. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to do that.
And more E. I need to add another E in here.
Omega.
Time for our next question.
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. What's your favorite DC character and why?
DC, that's hard. I've always loved the Cyborg Superman, and for some reason, I love anything related to robots or cyborgs. I've always loved it. I know he's not a very well loved character because he's a villain.
Back when the Reign of Superman, I was like kind of tied in between which one I like better, Cyborg Superman or the Eradicator.
Yeah. Eradicator is essentially just like a computer program, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's always been something about cyborgs, like Terminator.
You could
like
totally see them if that was actually going to be Superman. They could actually do like Terminator and put flesh over top the robotic parts, and Superman would actually be a cyborg.
Yeah. So like anything with those like related to cyborgs or to robotics or any kind of thing like that, like I always find a way to buy those figures, or or the strange and unusual things like the pumpkin Fortnite figure or the hamburger Fortnite figure. Just weird characters, I guess. I'm always drawn to
Yeah.
that stuff. So
Every time,
DC to me, it's like such a broad range of
I really
characters.
liked,
It's hard to pick
when
one.
they updated the Cyborg Superman's look during like the Hunter Prey storyline, they got the apocalyptic technology. They had the red and black armor.
Oh, and then I remember that one. And then he also ended up being one of the like a lantern as well, wasn't he?
Sinestro
At some
Corps.
point too.
yeah.
Or like a red lantern or something at one point in time.
Yellow Lantern, Sinestro. Even though he was a Yellow Lantern, he wore red and black.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Weird,
Okay.
but
He had multiple rings too. So
I think he had one on every finger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
had one on every finger. The guy was nuts, but okay. Now, same question, but what's your favorite Marvel character and why?
Marvel. Ooh. Man, I wish I had these questions ahead of time to think about this, so there wasn't so many dramatic, awkward pauses.
that's
Yeah.
Marvel character. I've always really loved the black suit symbiote Spider-Man or Venom. Venom, probably. I'd go with Venom.
Oh,
Because
nice.
Venom, like even as a kid, like I had the poster of Venom, Spider-Man, and Carnage. And there's something about the symbiotes that I always thought was really cool of that, just like having the powers, but it's like this suit, but it's also living. So anything symbiote related, I always loved it. So I'd probably go with Venom. Venom's my jam.
Of course, if you used to be, if you didn't let the symbiote feed, it feeds off the host and eventually kills you. Though I don't know if they
Yeah.
changed that. So
What
Yeah, I would
about
say
Venom? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably go with Venom. Just like he's like, like I had the comic books as a kid too, and like Lethal Protector, he was like the anti-hero, right? So
That's right.
yeah, he was
and
like
that
a
little
Punisher,
element of being like a badass, but also he's a
It's like the Stone Cold Steve Austin of Marvel. Okay, what about for independent comics? I know that's a wide spectrum, but you have a
Independent
character like from McFarlane Comics,
yeah.
what an indie Dark
Malibu. You got
Yeah.
Dark Horse. You got
Dark Horse.
I don't think I
you got
really got into that.
hundreds,
that
if not
stuff.
thousands, of independent creators out there. Like,
Yeah, I can't say that I picked one because I don't think I followed very many of that. I followed mostly the mainline stuff growing up as a kid, and then now as an adult, I relate to all the nostalgia from that stuff. So, 316, nice.
That makes, if you get the Punisher Venom that's got the skull. It's like,
Yeah.
no, damn it! Now I want that.
Okay, now I see customs.
Well, now you have your next work in progress Sunday after tomorrow.
Exactly. All right. Here's another one. What's your favorite action figure line?
Action figure line?
Yeah.
In all honesty, I think the one that's probably killing it right now, that's like really coming out with like top quality stuff, is the G.I. Joe line.
Yeah.
As much as I love my Marvel Legends and I love my masterpiece Transformers, mainline, I would say that the G.I. Joe team is nailing it. Like they're just knocking it out of the park with the things that they're producing, the articulation, the accessories. Like they are that top tier right now.
Of the skulls. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, aside from Sergeant Stalker's weird, awkward face, they've been pretty spot on. But
Yeah,
for
they've had a few missteps, like Stalker's face and the pre-order for Don Johnson's character from the movie. What's his name?
I can't think of it.
I completely blanked out of it. But he looks like a Team America Muppet.
Yeah, I think I remember that one. I think I know what you're talking about. But in terms of like, I started out, my main collection was Transformers, and then I got into the world of Marvel Legends, and that just led me down this other path of collecting whatever I thought was weird and crazy and strange and stuff. Right? Falcon. Yeah, that's it.
That's our friend Rob, by the way.
What's that?
That's our friend Rob Holtz, by the way.
Oh,
Nerd up.
So, like, I guess there it is. There's that. Oh, Team America.
America. Yeah. He's a
So I would go with the masterpiece Transformers, but a lot of my stuff that I find really interesting about that scale and that size is a lot of third-party stuff that is really, really cool. But in terms of mainline that's readily available, that's current, that's happening right now, I'd say like action figure wise, yeah, I'd say the GI Joes. The GI Joes are like they're just on a different level in terms of like their sculpt work, like you said, and the articulation and the
If they
accessories.
can give us extra hands, then they'd be the top notch out there.
Yeah, that's probably the only thing, like fisted hands and open hands, right?
Yep.
But I mean, they're giving you like this Spears figure that I have sitting here from a custom. Like we have an articulated Falcon, like an articulated bird, and then like 7 different guns, like
Yeah.
backpacks, guns, knives.
If
like,
you look at the 1911 he has, it's got like an eagle wing onto the side of the 1911.
Oh.
The detail is just amazing on those figures.
Oh no, they're knocking it out of the park for sure.
And so much better articulation than Marvel Legends.
Well, the Marvel
you got that
take notes.
You got that bottom ball
Butterfly
joint in the
joints
waist.
Yeah, ball in the waist with the ab crunch, the butterfly joints as well. Like in terms of fun, like they're a lot of fun, and it's really good bang for your buck in terms of money wise and mainline stuff. The masterpiece Transformers are supposed to be that next level of collector, right? But in terms of what any kid can walk into a store and buy, I'd say I have to go with the GI Joe.
Yeah, but the guy's a couple doors down in the Marvel team. I don't know. You got the GI Joe team a couple doors down from you. Like, take some notes, man.
It's probably more complicated than we know too, because of office politics and this, that, and the other that always happens in those kinds of scenarios.
It was like when Derek Vonner tried to help out the DC team at Mattel. They wouldn't.
Oh yeah,
he made those prototype Batman figures better than Marvel Legends putting out anything he's putting out, and they just shelved them and just ignored them.
And that again, office politics, you never know what's happening behind the scenes, and it's very easy to sit back and be an armchair hero and criticize other people's work and stuff. But I mean, the tremendous amount of work that goes into a lot of that stuff is far more than we would ever know.
I'm hoping somebody casts this ab section and we can make adapters for Marvel Legends female figures.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because
even just like putting putty over top of it when you cast it, over the section that the hole is in, and then just carve your own your own hole for it to fit. You can make that happen.
Ball joint down here and the diaphragm up top, she'll be able to crunch forward really well. You're going to have so much more.
Yeah, and then you don't get the seam lines from the abdominal crunch, right? Yeah. It's the way of the future, I think. But if anybody's listening out there in the toy world, from a humble, small-time collector customizer, that's the way of the future.
Yeah.
You mentioned, G.I. Joe's your favorite line. Is there one specific? I know this is another hard one, but is there one specific figure from the line that totally blows you away? Like it's your favorite out of the whole G.I. Joe line. Can you name one?
All right, so I'm a little bit biased. Again, it comes back to my love of everything robot related. Sorry, there's something that just keeps popping up on my computer here. But the Battle Android Trooper is probably one of the most underrated figures. I mean, that thing's got articulation coming out of everywhere. And the sculpt work on it's crazy, like the interchangeable hands, the fact that I can bend his arm all the way up and touch his own shoulder, basically, right? It's a really cool figure, and it was one that I loved as a kid, and I tried to get the authentic one as a kid, but could never find it. I found it as an adult. I found a different version of it, and then when they talked about it in the classified line, I was ecstatic. But then again, right? That robot bias that I have.
I just picked up 2 more recently for $2 for less than $20.
Somebody has problems.
Hang on.
Fun deal, and they have
my speaker stopped working, so I'm not sure what's happening right now.
Hang
on, give me 1 second.
But anyway, for the audience, actually,
sorry guys, I can't hear what you're saying.
Well, we're talking for the audience while you're doing that.
But it's searching.
Figure
Weird.
what that bat should be the standard. You get 2 portraits. You get a battle
I'm gonna
damage.
try turning it off and then
different
turning it
chest.
on.
Chest plates, all the different hands, gun hands. And it should be the standard for pretty well all.
All right, try now.
Are you
Hear us?
now?
Nope.
Yeah. Did your battery die?
All right, guys. I still can't hear what you're saying, which is awkward, but
With the
let's turn this off.
yeah, the bat. I agree with Nerd Up. It's figure of the year.
Oh yeah.
I love it. I ordered a couple of the red ones too. I have a dozen of the regular ones, but I only ordered 2 of the red ones just to put next to.
All right, give me 1 second. I'm just gonna turn my camera off so I don't have to look at my awkward face for a bit.
Yeah, some of the guys in our group too. They ordered quite a few. Again, I never got into the line, but
You should. It's the
Yeah, I
best
know.
line out there.
But we gotta turn it back up.
And
I
you could
know.
easily get caught up on that line.
I know.
And I could stop Marvel Legends tomorrow.
What's that?
And be happy with just Joe's.
They do. I just don't know how to switch it back.
I'm gonna mute him just for a second.
Hey. No, Gary. No.
Yeah. You win tonight.
Okay, is it?
Can you hear us now?
I've unpaired it, but is it working?
Can you hear us?
Oh, why is the volume so low? I can hear you, but I
Double
can't
click
hear you.
your speaker
What is
icon, and
happening
maybe
here?
it'll give you like the sound bar.
Sorry, guys. I really don't know what is happening or why the volume has become so in.
It might be in safety mode for when it thinks it's like paired up. Protect your hearing.
Shows testing your speaker.
Testing.
Okay, so I don't know what's happening right now if I'm muted and I can't hear you guys, but it's.
We can hear
Did
you
you guys
fine.
hear that? The testing your speakers stuff? You can nod if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, you can hear me, but I
Yep.
can't hear you for some strange reason. That's so weird. Oh, because it paired back to the. All right,
That's mean.
remove the device. Yeah, I don't know what's happening at all. What if I leave the studio and try to join back in?
Sometimes that works out well. It's like you just
This is so weird.
you
I
could
can't
even
even
like
hear
log
you
out and
chirping me
rejoin
either.
as long as the stream's
Yeah.
still going.
Just
The volume's all the way up, though. I don't get it. Even that little lady. All right, I'm leaving the studio and coming back in. Hang on.
that might work. Remember how it does that to me sometimes? Actually, you guys can't
yeah.
hear me, but I can hear you guys. So my problem is the opposite.
But while we're doing that, I'll pull up this. It's the little critter things. We were talking about that, trying to grow molds and like this mineral spirits. They always warp when I try that. It's like it's distorts unless you basically need like a even mold where it can all grow up, expand at the same time.
Yeah.
Can you?
Your voices work.
Hey. You hear us?
That was super weird. I'm gonna try turning on them.
I was kidding. I was not talking.
Do you hear us now?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I don't know why the Bluetooth wasn't working, but
No, you know what? Sometimes it's the opposite for me. I can hear everything that's going on, but they don't hear me. Like on the Sunday stream.
Oh.
So I just have to come back in.
Maybe your battery's died on your Bluetooth thing.
No, it's still flashing blue like it's working. Anyways, I'll just leave it on this max volume and I'll just go this way. It's fine. It's okay. We're just gonna roll with this.
We were talking about the bats. Like, yeah, that thing is just fantastic. That should be the standard. You get 2 portraits, you get a battle damage head, regular head, all those extra hands and accessories. That thing's fantastic. But that leaves it for the next question.
Yeah,
this is a hard one, but it's first part of the question's easy, and you can thank Hulk Smash for making it really hard.
You're welcome.
What are your
Did I tell my wife
3 customs? What are
What's
your favorite 3 customs? The first 2 you can usually name off the bats. That third one.
Favorite customs that I've made?
Yep. Your top 3 favorite customs.
Oh boy. Okay, so it has to be Autobot X was a long time favorite custom of mine that I had made. Yeah, that one I love. The Serpentor was new. I really liked that one. That was a lot of fun. And then that 3D printed Sharkticon will probably be my favorite 3. Because that was something where I expanded my skill set and I took on went in a new direction. I learned something completely brand new, and it was a massive success too. So
that was the easiest anybody's ever answered that question.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's usually the third one that's because I can name off the top 2 all the time. It's that third one's like.
Hey, the Marvel Legends team messed with your Bluetooth settings.
Yeah, they're on it. They're like Get him.
Yeah,
they were talking bad about us.
Mute him.
What's currently on your workbench? We've seen the Rancor, but what else?
My long-time standing sculpt of myself. I have not painted. It's been a work in progress with a giant smiley face. That is currently in the works. Those 2, the 2 head sculpts from the Sandman head sculpts, those are in the progress of being worked on. What else? I'm trying to look around to see what I have sitting around here. But yeah, those are probably the 2, what's currently working, what I'm working on. And then like I said, that Modi figure, I'm currently working on an articulated version of it just to up the level, because my friend, to him, it was the hugest compliment that he paid me was that it was one of his Grail figures. And I thought, holy cow, wow. This is a Grail figure for somebody, and I just threw it together with a bunch of STLs I pulled off the internet and then manipulated them and printed it.
I never even heard of the boat creature, and it's a Grail for people.
I think it's just this figure that comes with this playset, and it was unlocked at I think 8,000 backers or something. And for some reason, and it's when I looked at the pictures, it's small. It's maybe this big, whereas I made mine larger. But to him, it was just like this figure he wanted. He didn't want to pay the over $1,200 to get the set just for that little figure.
Oh yeah.
So building a one-off custom that nobody else has, he just loves that feeling that nobody else has. Right?
I love Motu, but I have no connection to that. Six Flags over.
Neither do I. But it gives me more ideas of things I can do with head sculpts and stuff that I could do to print off and make more custom, like ridiculous monsters or something in the future, using whatever bodies I can find. Right. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even like parts, like, I mean, like we were talking about that midsection, like if you could find a way to like do 3D prints of certain body parts and then make casts of it. And you know what I mean? Like the sky's the limit when it comes to if you actually get to know the like how to use the 3D printer and all that, all the different programs. It's like, sky's the limit really, but it is difficult. I wouldn't even know where to begin with 3D printing.
So what you're saying is learn some more so that you can make cooler customs with the parts I provide for you, right?
Well, that's what friends are for, right?
Yeah, I told you. I think I've already sent you guys. I already sent you guys a whole bunch of stuff too, and like that Hulk arm that I sent you as well, right?
Yeah, what you mean this one?
Yeah, the extra Hulk pieces of the arms. Yeah, that little baggie of like exciting cast pieces.
You know what I used to say to Emerson? I used to tell him I got to come by and pick up my bag of goodies from Jer.
Hey man, like I said, you got to pay it forward, right? Like you've helped me out. I mean, I can't even count how many times. Same thing with Francis too. When I made that Motu monster, the Modi monster for him, it was just somebody who has always gone above and beyond to help me. I would not hesitate, and even if it was somebody I didn't really know, I would try to return that sort of favor, right? So
Yeah, well, you know what? This is what we've always said it should be about. It should be, collectors and customizing, helping each other out.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, like as much as you possibly can. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like
within reason and within your own means. I mean, not everybody has the ability to just hand things out for free, right? And I've never expected anyone to give me anything for free. And yeah, so but I mean, as far as I see it, if you are doing something that's nice for someone or doing some good and putting that sort of message out there and helping people out, you would only hope that later on they might return that favor to somebody else who's new and starting out and who might not
exactly.
know
That's all
anything,
we want.
right?
Yeah, that's all we've always said. That's what it should be about. Take our knowledge and pass it on to the guy who looks at you and starts saying, "Oh my God, I love this guy's work." Like, I mean, this guy's amazing or whatever. So,
Yeah, for sure.
pass it on to the next person. Like, I mean, that's what it should be about. It's a fun hobby.
Yeah,
Man.
and unfortunately, like anything, you're always going to have those naysayers. You're always going to have the people with opinions, and you're always going to have the people who try to take advantage or who are negative. And especially what I've noticed in like the toy community, and we've experienced it too in the past with other situations, where you butt heads with people, or there's a contradiction of ideas, or two people just don't agree, and then somebody, with some form of power, I guess, thinks that they have this sense of entitlement. And then for some reason, when you stand up to that, you're viewed in a negative light, you're cast out, you're whatever. And it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate side of things. It's happened to us in the past. The group that we started, the Facebook group that we started for local collectors, was started from a situation where change was needed in a group that we were a part of. And I'm not like, I won't get into details because I mean that group is perfectly legitimate and there's lots of really great people in it. But that, with that situation, it necessitated a bit of change, and a lot of us got together. And at first, it was like kind of a joke. At first, like we were just joking around, like, "Oh, we should start our own group," and then we did, and it's blown up since, and it's been, I think, a very positive place. So, I mean, sometimes butting heads, right, like that, people clash, personalities clash, or situations arise where there's a disagreement. But the positives that come out with that afterwards far outweigh any of those short-term pains, I guess you could say.
But yeah, but you know what though? It's a positive place, but it's because you've made it a positive place. You know what I mean? Like,
it's not just me though. It's not just me. There are a lot of people in there contributing. So,
like I said, I'm a member of the group too. Like, I mean, as long as we continue the positive in that group, it's like, of course, it's going to outweigh the negative, right? But I mean, like you said, there's always going to be that one guy who comes along. Maybe he's a new member and he thinks, okay, well, I'm going to see if I can. If I can get some easy money off of these guys or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, it happens, right? But
yeah. And I mean, when we tried to limit that in the group as well. It's called the Canadian Toy Syndicate. And so just a little plug for the group there. It's a smaller group, but it's because we don't just let anybody in. They either have to be vetted somehow or they have to answer a series of questions to enter. And then if you're in the group and you're caught doing things that go against group rules, there's a zero tolerance policy, and there's no debating it. There's no, and I've had group members that have been removed before, and they've come back to me and they're just incredibly rude, and it's based out of their frustration of wanting to be in the group. But you can only approach somebody so many times and tell them you can't do this, and then eventually it's like, okay, you're not getting the picture. See ya.
Yeah, but you've been fair.
Yeah,
you've been fair.
Yeah.
I'm your huckleberry.
I think the last person that was removed from the group had some choice words to say and talked about a whole lot of things that they don't really know anything about in reference back to that situation that happened in the past. And they were super, super rude. And all I said to them was, look, like, obviously I made the right choice if this is what you're doing. So yeah, exactly.
Haters are always going to hate.
That's perfectly fine. I don't get along with absolutely everybody. I have a difference of opinion. It's fine. I try to express myself as best I can. And unfortunately, some people just have it in their head one way of how you are, and you just have to look at them and go, oh, well, that's a you problem.
I do have one thing. I was disappointed myself. I didn't do something when you had audio issues.
2 hours later.
I would have been able to see if you chirping me. Yeah.
Or since Transformers fan.
We now return to the Transformers.
Nice.
I thought you were going to
Grimlock, also a favorite character of mine. The Dinobots. Those are my favorite Transformers.
Same. I love the the Dinobots, the Transformers. I like their size
what's
and power in the cartoon, but I like their intelligence and badassness in the comics.
So what's the next question you got for me? Since, the last question just got all kinds of messed up.
Number 15, I believe.
Yeah. Okay, here's a question that I'm sure you get on a lot. You get on a lot when you post your pictures of customs and stuff. Do you accept commissions?
I'm hesitant about the commissions only because of I think I'm turned off by the amount of people that scam. And sometimes the quality of work that I can offer, I don't know if it's at a level where I feel comfortable having people pay me for the amount of time it takes me to do things. And that's just me being honest with where my skill set is at. If I'm painting a head sculpt, I'm not a fantastic painter. I'm trying to learn how to shade and how to actually paint things so they look a little bit more realistic. But as long as there's an agreement, it's just hard because how do you, like, I've sent stuff out to people before, but I don't know. It's the unknown. And the unknown about people that will try to scam. Like if you send them something in the mail and it's done and they've agreed to pay a price, or even if they pay it through something like PayPal and then they dispute it afterwards. Like I'm fearful of that side of things, of when there's agreement of people scamming, basically.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it, but I also don't have a tremendous amount of time to dedicate to other people's projects. And really, I got into this stuff just for fun, like for me as a creative outlet. But I'm not opposed to it. If I feel that it's something that I can accomplish in a relatively decent amount of time without making somebody wait, I would. But I wouldn't be taking on tons of projects. So I still have a full-time job on the outside, right? Outside of the customizing stuff. So like the Modi, for instance, that was just me having some fun and messing around. And then, I just sent it in the mail and, I didn't charge anything for it. It was just a fun custom for a friend who had a problem and I could solve it. So
you know what?
So
I was going to say
that's
the same thing with me too. Is like, I don't do commissions. I never have, but I have given customs away as gifts or like as parts of trades or, stuff like that. I mean, it was never anything that somebody said, can you make me this and how much you want to charge me? No, it's always been about the fun. Like I've just sent them away as gifts. You know what I mean? It's like, again, that's part of the hobby that I enjoy too, is like if somebody, like what you did for your buddy there, that's something that he'll never forget. You know what I mean? Like
he's got a shadow box underneath his TV in his living room. Like it is in a proper box, pinned in a shadow box, and it's really cool.
That's what I'm saying though. That's so awesome though that that's like the expression, like you said, nobody was able to top that afterwards. It's like that, something like that. It really does come from the heart. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. It's incredible though. It's great. It is a great hobby for that alone, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be paid to do a commission, but it would be something that I would have to invest some time in getting to know exactly what the person wants, creating an outline of exactly where we're going to go, what we're going to do. And it wouldn't just be a quick conversation, right? Like I couldn't do just off the cusp, like, I would take commissions, but it would probably be only one at a time if I were to do it. But I mean, if anybody has a question about something they're interested in or some way that I can help them, you can always reach out on my social media. And then if I can put something together quickly and whatever, and just send it out in the mail or whatever, I'll totally help people out in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I like this. My only issue when I do commissions is the idea the buyer gets all ex-girlfriend mode. Like the minor ideal, or especially the price.
Absolutely. And that's the other thing too, is that before I would get into anything, that's what I mean by having a concrete plan. I need to know exactly, and you can ask my buddy Francis about his Modi. I asked him a million questions, like, what size do you want? He's like, oh, like about this scale. I'm like, I need exact measurements of how long do you want it, how wide do you want it, how tall do you want it. Like, I need to know the exact measurements so that I can dial it in to what his vision was. And I updated him throughout the process, and I started printing it at a smaller scale, and then I thought, nah, it's too small. So then I enlarged it. I sent him pictures, and he was like, no, actually that works out really well. And then even with the coloring, he's like, oh, could you make it a bit darker? Because I painted a certain purple color. And then I did a darker purple wash on it, which helped. And I also did the blue stripe along the top of it for him as well, because it was from one of the other images that I found. And he was beyond stoked about it. So it's definitely something that needs to have, like, there needs to be a clear, direct, like, exact, like, well, relatively exact of what they want, and then agreed upon, right? So, and if people don't like the price, then there's no harm, no foul in that, right? Like, I've approached customizers and said, hey, I saw this head sculpt that you have. How much would it cost to get one? And they tell me, I'm like, okay, that's a little bit out of my price range. Totally value what you're doing, but I just can't afford that right now. And I think that's totally acceptable.
Don't belittle somebody or try to argue over somebody when they list their price on their artwork. It's you don't know how much work they're putting in. Their personal work is going into it, and their heart and soul. A lot of times, people work on these things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I chalk it up to no different than, say, a painting, right?
Yeah,
it's worth what somebody's willing to pay. I mean, you can give a ballpark range, and I mean, but if somebody wants to haggle on minute details of things or try to get you to the bargain basement price, then maybe that's not somebody you want to work with, because if they're going to be that difficult in the initial stages of it, then long term they're going to be just as picky, and it's just going to be headaches. And that's not what I'm about. Like, I'm not in this hobby to make money. I'm in this hobby to help people get things that they might not be able to get, or things that they might not be able to produce themselves, right?
Exactly. And for me, like, the hobby, it's relaxing and kind of therapeutic. It's just I can basically veg out and work on what I'm working on and take my mind off stuff, and also too, building a community, getting to talk to other customizers, make new friends, and that's the Collector Express to me, like, is more like a community, building this network out.
Yeah, you do a fantastic job of it, man. You really are. Like, there's some really nice people that when I've been on the show, just even in the chats and stuff, asking questions and having a great time. Like, it's fantastic. It's a good time.
we got some good people since we started doing the stream. Like,
oh yeah,
we got a lot of regulars. Shout out to all of them. Like, they're always giving us some questions, the commenting and stuff. It's great, man. Like, I mean, it's a good way to meet people too, right?
For sure. Well, especially during like this time, like still slightly post-COVID, where people can't get together, or I mean, like, they're all across the world. Who knows where they are? It's a super, super cool, fun thing to do.
Like Peggy Zero Dad, like he's on another continent. So
and like I said, like RDJ Customs, like, big shout out to that dude. We just go back and forth about ideas and stuff, and then if he can help me, he's just like, hey, here's this, I'm sending it to you, give me your address, and it's like, oh, cool, I'll send him 3D files that I have and stuff.
Darth doesn't miss a show. It's like
that's right. Hey, I always give Darth a shout out.
A few times. It's good.
I'm gonna have to give him one today again.
Piggy Dad, like, great bunch. Everybody in the chat, everybody's here. They're just such great people to talk with.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely.
Hi.
Maybe. Okay, I got one more question.
All right, shoot.
We've reached that time. So, are you into any other art or hobbies besides customizing action figures?
Yeah, actually, I went to school for visual art. I have a 4 years honors degree in visual art and an honors specialist in teaching qualifications for art.
Yep.
So anytime I can get my hands on anything art related, I was sitting in a meeting at a PA day one day, and I was just drawing a skull with crayons, and I had such a great time just sitting there with crayons, and I didn't think I would be doing that. I used to paint and draw and use, colored pencil work that I would do and whatnot. Um, and there anything artistic that I can get my hands on. I've made T-shirt designs before too. My wife had a cricket before we got married, and we still have it. And so like they're just funny things that come up, and we'll do that kind of thing, and she'll help me out with stuff like that. So basically anything artistic, I would try it. I try like it just try to expand my skills in a new way, right? So the customizing is one thing, and now with the 3D printing, sorry, I'm looking over here. You can't see it. It's my 3D printer sitting beside me, the Prusa. But getting into the 3D printing, and now I'm going to try to get into the 3D sculpting side of things, and then sort of take my skill set hopefully to another level so that I can always improve upon what it is that I'm doing, the process, the artistry, and then apply it to other things. Like I show my students sometimes a tiny little head sculpt of myself, and it had to have a smirking face on it, like a smiling face on it, because I feel that that's my personality. And they look at it and they go, "You made that?" I'm like, yeah, with tiny little
Yeah.
with tools and stuff, and like sandpaper and merging things together. So
I actually use
yeah,
my
I
hands.
mean, what's that?
I actually use my hands.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had like a similar thing with like recently with on the last WGC spotlight for my last Prime.
Yeah.
Where it's public page, everybody like family members saw it. My sister shared it out. People like, Jared made that. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I find it humbling too when somebody recognizes the amount of work that you put into something. Like I keep going back to the Modi because it's been new, it's newest, right? It's the newest thing that I made. But for somebody to say that's a Grail piece, this is something that's they would seek out in the world, and they got it, and it's just so incredible, and they want to keep it up in a special display and stuff. Like that thing, I 3D printed that, and then I painted it. Like I don't know. It's so humbling to think that there's work that I'm making that other people enjoy so much, and they're so kind, and the kind words that they say, and the feedback that I get from it. It's so cool.
Very cool. I've worked in corporate stuff I do too, like in the customizing when I was doing like the logos for the capes and stuff, where I was able to recreate those in vector format and like in Illustrator and send those vector files to my buddy that has a commercial like vinyl cutter, and he was able to cut those out.
Cool. That's super rad. Yeah.
And press the logos onto the capes is like just ups level quality. It's like I tried like doing like water slides on them, just didn't work out. It's like, wait a bit, my buddy's got a
Yeah, that's massive. That's massive. Reaching out to unfamiliar things that you never think about, right? Like to do or avenues.
I would almost want to get one of those, but I know how much cost is involved with doing all that, like the vinyl stuff, buying the vinyls. Like, I asked my buddy for a favor. It works out better. He lives a long ways away, so I have to mail stuff to him, and he mails it back to me. But that's cheaper than driving there with current gas prices.
Oh, for sure. And some of those high grade quality machines, right? Like you just don't have the money to buy that kind of stuff. Or even like my buddy who we reached out to, a print guy that he uses for the box for Autobot X, and that was printed on thick cardstock so that it actually feels like a legitimate box, right? And even him helping me out with the design work on that in Photoshop, because I used to play around with Photoshop, but I don't have the program anymore, and now it's web based. So so being able to do that, or like I just have people that help you out every now and then, right? It's cool.
Yep.
We lose Hulk Smash Customs.
His camera blacked out. Can you hear us? There you are. Can you hear us now?
Oh yeah, I could hear the whole time.
The camera went.
Oh, okay.
Black.
Yeah.
He just had to pick his nose.
Yeah.
Thanks for not sharing those with us.
Yeah.
Thank you again for coming in here and doing the spotlight with us today. It's like
Well, it's my pleasure, and it's an honor to be like for you guys to reach out and say, "Hey, want to do a spotlight on you?" At first, I was very nervous about getting on camera, right, with my profession and whatnot. But it's a huge opportunity, and it's massive, and a massive thank you to both of you.
That's what this channel here. I don't have any other channels, but I got another old channel, but I just simulcast this to that too, but don't have near the subscriber count this does. But I don't do anything controversial. I'm not going to do anything bad on this channel. I like being helpful and helping people. That's just me in general. I'm not going to have any of that. These, I don't know. It's got to be like a thing in the toy community right now. I call them drama toy channels. I'm not about that. I will say something design wise. I'm not going to attack nobody or anything like that. This is a respectful place, and I think we should stay that way. It's like, but if I will talk bad about a toy design, but that's about it.
Yeah, but I mean that there's no harm in being critical of something.
Yeah.
You can be critical of something without being condescending, right? And
Exactly.
even when I alluded to the troubles that we had in the past, like I'm not here to air out anybody's dirty laundry or anything.
Exactly.
It's just a situation that happened, and it was dealt with however it was dealt with, and here we are today, right? So positive or negative, it's no reflection on those other people or those other places.
The most thing I'm ever critical on is Super 7 stuff, because it's not worth what they're charging.
Well, you know,
we could have a whole other hour-long discussion about paintwork and
when I took
some of that stuff, but
they had it was a design flaw in the design of their torso, so they actually used glue like a gob of like glue to reinforce a tab inside the torso.
Oh wow! Yeah, because you took a few of them apart, right, to repaint them.
Yeah, well, they didn't clearance the shoulders and stuff properly, so it's even on the factory. It's going to paint rub. They didn't clear the shoulder sockets enough and different areas. So I just bit the bullet and just cracked the torso and cleaned it up. And when I opened that torso up, I seen that big gob of glue holding a tab together. It's like, what the world?
And
that's not on the design team. That could be a simple production matter that they would never see, right?
I talked to another customizer who painted his Tigra. He cracked his torso the same glues in his. It's a design flaw.
So that's not necessarily a design thing. That's from the factory of wherever it was produced, and that's stuff that they would never see. My wife works in design work,
but they're planning on doing
deal with factories all the time.
Version.
What's that?
They're planning on doing a translucent version where you can turn invisible.
Well, I'm sure they'll be on the quality control for that one, I hope. But like I said, like it's hard. It's totally okay to have an open eye and a critical eye. It's just how you approach it, right? And I think what we lose sight of, because we're all human and we're all flawed, inherently flawed, is that we get too focused on ourselves and we forget that there are so many other moving parts to a lot of things, or things going on in people's lives and whatnot, right? That we don't think of necessarily.
I met you Wednesday night on his. He does a similar same. He was doing it before we were doing it. It's like he does a work in progress Wednesday.
Yeah, I caught some of that today. I was watching it, actually. It was really cool. I've been following that guy for a long time too. He does amazing.
I'm surprised he don't have that many subscribers yet. And he does some
didn't he say that he just started the channel recently, but he's been doing the social media stuff for a long time, like on like Instagram and stuff.
He's at episode 30 on custom, but he took some time off doing the customizing stuff to rearrange his displays. So he did the live stream display reorgs. But yeah, he's great. We were talking about like people bitching and complaining because people got their Galactus and they're showing off they got Galactus.
Oh yeah, I caught that part. Yeah, I might have mentioned something.
If you're mad, it's more or less they're mad because they couldn't get one at the time, so they got to bitch and moan because people were happy they got something they waited a year for.
I didn't get
the
one.
grass is always greener where you water it, right?
Yeah. I didn't
might have mentioned something to my wife the other day too, where I saw another post about Galactus, and I was like, "Oh man, I keep seeing all these posts about Galactus." And it reminded me of that when I saw your comments and you were talking about it, and I had to remind myself, wait, these people are just excited about what they have.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a million posts about it, and it's not annoyed by them per se. It's just more like, I'm tired of seeing posts about this, but I just scroll on by. Like, I'm not going to
You don't
ruin
have to-
somebody's day
You don't have to
because
go on the
I've
same
seen
post.
so many posts about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like,
So
they just, I don't know. Man. Like, well, if you don't want to engage on somebody's post about them getting Galactus and being happy about it, then don't. It just
Scroll.
takes no effort not to engage.
Just keep scrolling.
Oh, yeah. But it comes back to that sense of entitlement that I think is a problematic thing. And it's not just in the world of customizing, it's in the world in general. People are trying think that they're at the center of the universe and then think that they're entitled to all kinds of things. And unfortunately, we can't fixate on those things either because we just get drawn into it. So instead, we have to focus on things like this situation where the three of us have met up and we've got people in the comments who are super positive and have questions. And
Exactly.
I mean, I'm happy
fact
for
that
it.
we want to get together with that stuff, right? So
Yep. I was happy when people got their. I didn't get the Sentinel, but I was happy when people got it.
yeah, I never bought it either. I just don't have the room for that kind of stuff. They look cool and they're fantastic looking.
Oh yeah.
But it was just never something for me.
I like the X-Men, but I'm not hardcore in the X-Men. So to me, if I would have got one, it would have been like a master mold, and I didn't really need that because I like the size of the universe ones.
Yeah. Well, for Master Mold, it would probably make some kind of like 3D print thing in a chair, and it could be big with like, I think, were they coming out of his stomach or something too when they were making them? Or
Sometimes
I can't remember the question. I'd have to watch it again, but like I'm sure we could figure something out.
Yeah, they're coming out of his chest.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm sure we could figure something out. If it's got to be sent to you in multiple parts because of its size, I'll try to help you out and figure something out. If you want to make a display for that, we can talk.
Really, for display wise, something like that, you can actually basically design it to be flat on the back where you can push it against a display.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Maybe like half of his body, right? So he's flat against the back. And so his back, and then you can put it so it takes up less real estate, right?
Exactly. I was even thinking about that for the Sentinel. For the Galactus head.
You could be using it as set up like that. You can actually have Galactus like have his arms out and like outsprung and like in his head like partially against the wall. Makes it do a mount where he's like leaning forward.
Or like an arm reaching out or something where it's like what's called low relief sculpture, right? So it's partially, it's not the full sculpture, but it's coming out of the out of the, I guess, like a background in just a little bit, right?
Yep.
So there are things that can be done. We'll make it work. I got skills now. 3D skills that are just going to hopefully improve, so we can make some of that stuff happen.
I'm surprised they don't try to market stuff like that anyway. Like when they do these big giant things, it's like do stuff where you can actually wall mount and make displays like setups, like diorama pieces.
Yeah.
And you don't really Galactus. I love my Galactus. And it is.
Yeah, the pictures you sent me look amazing, man. They look amazing.
Each finger rotates at the base.
Oh wow!
And every joint bends. Like I'm one of the few people that can actually bend.
That's making me feel uncomfortable. I can't do that with my hands.
So he can do all that, and I can't do it, but it rotates this way too. And he's actually got a butterfly joint at the thumb, so he can do this.
Yeah, I got to be that guy. Okay. I'm gonna be that guy. Yeah, just as much work went into the Ghost Rider HasLab as just as like Galactus and the Sentinel. So I don't know why he didn't get backed.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna touch that explosive device.
Yeah.
Like I said, far be it from me to criticize other people from the comfort of my chair. It's some of those things just aren't for me, and that's where I leave it. It is what it is. People are speaking for themselves, right? So
no, I actually didn't back Galactus. I didn't back the Sentinel, and I also didn't back the Hiss tank. I haven't backed any of them.
I've only
neither have I. It's just real estate. It comes down to real estate and costs, and not that I think that's bad. The price point is not for everybody, but for me, I could buy. Like I said, I'm more into the masterpiece scale transformers, and for $500-600, I can buy some really really cool pieces for that. So, all right, let's not go too down into that rabbit hole because we'd be here for another 4 hours.
With Galactus, that was that is the first HasLab, because I'm really wasn't big on like the crowdfunding model for billion-dollar companies. I don't know why they need Kickstarters.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's Galactus. I got a soft spot for the Cosmics. I had to do that.
Yeah.
The Dr. Doom head is
enjoy it.
thick as all get out, but I did for when I do the review on Galactus, I did the heralds already. But when I do the review, I already took the Doom head out, put it on my Lazy Susan, on my turnstile, put it back in a box, and already sealed the box back up. It'll never be used on Galactus because it's stupid.
Yeah.
It's a wasted bonus item. It could have been anything. I would rather have like a Galen head or like an unmasked head where he's like bald with the tech detail on his head and stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of those projects, you're never going to satisfy 100% of 100
but
people.
I don't think anybody
It's
wanted
never going to
Dr. Doom head,
happen.
though.
Yeah, I mean, we can question it all day. Like I said, it's beyond our control. I mean, it is what it is.
I would have thought the last tier was going to be what they gave us in the.
But there's probably somebody out there who's like, yes, a Dr. Doom head that's so enormous that I won't be able to put on anything. Or maybe they're displaying it with that head on and they're just like, this is the jam. This is what I've been waiting for, right? So
I would have thought the last tier was going to be Firelord, but we got that with the retro card.
Oh, yeah.
Firelord or Airwalker. Either one of those would have made more sense. But hey.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, it's been fantastic. I really enjoyed this whole entire process. I realize it's been like 2 hours now.
Oh, yeah. Before we go,
time flies when you're having fun.
Speaking of HasLab, so I can share this with you.
Oh, okay.
It's time to vote. We get to choose the color of the bonus figure, like the early bird figure.
I'd vote Bravo personally. That would be my choice, even though I didn't back it. The red and black just pops to me.
Yeah, these are my favorite too. Followed by this one. This one's looks like Snake Eyes as a Cobra.
Maybe I just always associate the Cobra logo with red. And that's just how I've always seen it.
This is the one I've been leaning toward on the misspelled alpha.
PHF.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a PH. But these are cool looking concepts, though. I like they put it as a fan vote, though, where you get to vote every 24 hours until it's time.
Yeah.
The bottom two there look like different versions of Snake Eyes. The first one and the second one, it's like you got the visor on the bottom row there. The first one looks like
Snake
Eyes
really does.
There.
Yeah. To me, these are the best too. It matches with the color scheme of the tank and the other the driver. The driver.
Yeah, I think that's probably why. That's probably why I associate it. Like it's just the color scheme, right? Like you said, it's the one that goes with the piece itself. But maybe a visual difference in the contrast might be interesting to see too. It'd be interesting to see these actually produced.
The blue matches the other
next to it to see how it looks in tandem with the actual vehicle. That would probably sell it more for a lot of people, right? See it in that, like maybe like a prototype of each figure standing next to the actual vehicle, and that would probably help to sell it. I think a bit.
That would be nice. What they could have done, 3 actual real printed prototypes in the colors they're supposed to be. It helped sell which one we will look at, because I'm assuming they're supposed to be silvered on these legs, but you can almost see that as like translucent armor too.
Yeah,
like a ghost.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Cool, man. Well, again, I have to thank you both for like a great time and sharing all of my stuff.
Oh, Galactus
wow.
was the fact might be the get made after the Sentinel was what got me into collecting properly. Oh, cool.
Cool.
Yeah, Galactus was it was the draw for me, and the his. I like the his tank because the bang for the buck on that one. You're basically paying $200 for the his tank and $100 in figures.
Hey, like I said, G.I. Joe's killing it, right? And that got funded within like no time because people saw the inherent value in it, and they also liked what they were putting forward. So
Yep.
And thank you again for coming out, hanging out with us, and us putting you on the spot and asking you questions impromptu. And
love it.
Yeah.
Oh, and if anybody has any questions about customs, about any kind of thing, reach out. Or if you have an idea that you want to get something made or whatever, just feel free to reach out.
I have
if I can help you out,
your
if I can
Instagram in the description down below, or
sweet.
wherever they display it now. They keep moving it. So.
Yeah, sweet.
But yeah, reach out to any of us, and we'll gladly help you out. And anything upcoming that you're going to be going to? Any shows or anything that you're going to be?
Nothing at the moment. I'm kind of in like a low point in terms of like what I need to do and stuff. So I'm not really sure what I'll do next. I think I'm just going to keep working on that articulated moat monster just for fun and see if I can print it.
Dude,
I have an idea for a new style of making or a new way of making joints for it. And then I'm going to maybe print off an air chariot for Serpentor and finish his hands off. So you can actually have like, the hand reaching out, right, for when he's riding the air chariot, and you can picture him shouting, "This I command," right? So I got to finish up a couple of little things here and there, and then hopefully once the basement is done. What's that?
I think you could have a lot of demand for those moat creatures, like because.
Yeah, but at the same time, like with my buddy wants to be like an exclusive, have that figure and nobody else has the figure too. So I don't know. I would contemplate it, but I would talk to him about it first. Because I kind of said to him, like, yeah, I don't really sell a lot of this stuff because I don't know what to charge for something like that.
Well, you have almost 8,300 people backing a $550 playset. So the people are willing. People are willing to spend. So.
Yeah, and I was actually invited by him to a group so that I could get that out there. He's like, people will pay it, right? So yeah.
Yep. All right, I guess we'll get ready to wrap up. We don't have anyone lined up for next week. If we do, I'll put the announcement out. And Customs will match you. He says he's interested in doing one of these. And
that'd be great. I'd tune into that for sure. That'd be great. He's just crazy ideas. That guy's great.
Well, yeah. Thanks again for agreeing to join us here, and we appreciate your time and your work and what you've done for our community as well.
Absolutely. I hope we can get Fast Freddy on here too. Great.
Sweet. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to more fun on Whip It Sundays, right?
Yes, sir. Every Sunday we
now whip it good.
It's never gonna get old for me.
All right.
Much appreciated, guys.
All right. You take care of them.
All right. I'll catch you guys later.
Thank you, everybody watching. Thank you for coming out, hanging out with us. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch y'all next time.